Today's interview is a special one because I'm sitting down with someone who has been living and advocating this lifestyle long before social media trends,
Mm.
documentaries, or YouTube algorithms ever existed. Her name is Linda Middlesworth, founder, a vegan mentor, longtime vegan advocate, health coach,
Mhm.
activist, and organizer right here in Sacramento, California. I first connected with Linda through Facebook and local vegan meetup groups. And what immediately stood out to me was not only her knowledge, but her authenticity and longevity in this movement. This is someone who has spent decades helping people transition towards a healthier, more compassionate lifestyle while building relationships with many of the leading voices in lifestyle medicine and plant-based nutrition. Linda has trained through organizations connected to some of the most respected names in the field, including Dr. Neal Barnard and PCRM, Dr. T. Colin Campbell through Cornell University, and Dr. John McDougall's Starch Solution program. She's also worked alongside countless vegan advocacy groups and lifestyle medicine leaders over the years. But what makes her story truly powerful is that this journey became personal long before it became professional. Linda told me decades ago she was facing a devastating diagnosis. She was overweight, dealing with heart disease, and was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. At a moment when fear and uncertainty could have completely consumed her life, a neighbor introduced her to Dr. John McDougall's work and the power of a whole foods, plant-based lifestyle. What happened next changed the course of her entire life. Today, decades later,
Mm.
she's still here, healthier, thriving, and helping others, organizing communities, mentoring people, rescuing animals, and continuing to spread a message of health and compassion. So in today's interview, we're going to talk about her transformation story, the lessons she's learned over the years, the biggest misconceptions people still have about food and disease, her experiences working with some of the biggest names in lifestyle medicine, and why she believes so many people still struggle to make the connection between what we eat and how we live. Linda, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited for this conversation. And Linda, for people who may not know about your story yet, can you take us back to the beginning and explain what your health was like before you discovered plant-based nutrition?
Well, about 40 years ago, when I was teaching actually about 25 classes of aerobics per week, I'm talking kickboxing and step and weight training and things like that. I was at my fattest period in my life, and I was also my sickest. My doctor had just diagnosed me with severe heart disease, like you could drop dead in 6 months with that. And then he told me I have cancer. And when you get that big C word given to you, it's devastating. The heart disease, it scared me, but didn't think I was going to die from it. But that cancer word, I thought I really was on death's door, but I didn't really realize it until he said cancer. And lucky for me, though, I had moved to a new neighborhood with my late husband, and I just happened to move next to Frances. The first week when I just met her, we were walking our dogs around the park. And I was so devastated I could barely talk because I thought I was dying. And I decided to tell her the whole thing. I don't know why. I didn't have anybody else to tell at the moment. So I told her my story. And she said, oh, Linda, don't worry about that. I said, what? She said, oh, just look up Dr. John McDougall. I said, who? And so I did. I looked him up. I didn't even meet the man. I just read one book that he had written, and I watched the stories of people transforming their lives in that book. And I couldn't believe it. This one lady had cancer, a young gal. I think she was about 18, not very old, very young. And they said, we've been radiating you for 9 months, and we need to give your body a break. So during the break, she was Googling around and she found Dr. John McDougall. And she just started talking to him. He put her on the whole food plant starch-based diet. Well, in a very short time, she not only went from like size 14 or something to size 4, but she lost her cancer. it went away completely. And that gave me so much hope. So I decided I was given one radiation for my thyroid. It was a horrible experience. And I unfortunately had just done that 1 week before I met my neighbor. I wouldn't have done that one because it was awful. And little did I know that those don't often work anyway. I went ahead and told my doctor, I'm not coming back, I'm not doing it anymore. He said, Linda, either we remove your thyroid or you finish your radiation and chemo or you will die. And he said, by the way, you're going to die of your heart disease before the cancer treatment's over because it was so severe. I had 358 total cholesterol and I was scared, very scared. And I couldn't think, I couldn't sleep. But my neighbor said, don't worry. I said, don't worry? What do you mean? Well, she knew about a vegan lifestyle. And she said to get a hold of him. Well, it changed my life. I never even talked to him. I just did it. And all of a sudden, I turned into a different person. I got my health back. I became a really fit aerobic instructor because I was doing all the exercises. But when you're eating the wrong food, you can still be overweight. Everybody says, how could you be overweight? You teach so many classes. And I said, oh, well, I found out I was eating the wrong food. I was not only eating processed food, I was eating animals, mostly chicken and fish. Every once in a while I have a hamburger, but it was chicken and fish, a lot of cheese. Oh my God, I couldn't get enough cheese. So cheese, eggs on Sunday. I didn't bacon too much, but I did do the cheese a lot, and yogurt and ice cream. Oh my goodness, I couldn't pass the refrigerator without pulling out a piece of cheese. As Paul knows, it's an opiate. It's an actual opiate. And I didn't know that. And that's why I was so addicted. In fact, another lady told me around the same time, Linda, you have to give up the cheese. I said, there's no way am I going to give up my cheese. I almost slugged her because I was so addicted. I mean, it's addiction. You know why it's addictive? Because it's meant to make the baby cow come back to the mother cow. Why are we drinking from another species beyond me? But so that opiate was for the baby cow not to wander off and go away. Well, I was like a baby cow. And this is ridiculous, isn't it? That's why that opiate is in there. And also in the milk is this IGF growth hormone, which actually helps to change your DNA to give humans cancer. You see, that's designed to make a baby cow go from 90 pounds to almost 1,000 pounds in a year. Well, when we take in the cheese, it's concentrated casein, which breaks down into casomorphine, and casomorphine is addictive. Think of the word morphine. And it's also what can cause cancer. I'm not saying everybody can get it. I'm just saying it does promote cancer in humans, not for the baby cow, but for humans. And it sure did for me. So that's how I got started. And my heart disease went away. My cancer went away. My obesity, I had 55 extra pounds. And now at the age of 82, I'm at my perfect weight. I'm 5'8" at 116 pounds. I'm very, very strong. I don't know if you can see my muscles or not, but I got to show them off. I got muscles, baby. So I got muscles because I work out. I get all the protein I need to be strong. So
We get more than enough.
oh, you can get too much protein. You have to be careful not to eat too many beans. I try not to eat over 1.5 cups of beans per day. You can actually get kidney problems if you eat too much protein. So this whole thing, oh, where are you going to get your protein, is the first thing that people ask Paul and me. The first thing they ask is, I need the protein. I even had one lady say, oh, you know, I went vegan for a while. No, she didn't go vegan. She went plant-based. And then I had to give it up and eat my fish and chicken because I was feeling so weak and didn't get enough protein. Well, this is a huge myth. I mean, I don't know what she was eating when she was plant-based, but you can get all the protein you need. But it's
Instead of eating Oreos.
Yeah, she could have been eating Oreos and potato chips and that's it. But the thing is, the meat, dairy, and egg industries have really taken that word vegan and turned it around to mean weak, incomplete, and if you do it, you're gonna die. They really have done a great marketing job in promoting that concept. And they even have happy cows on the front of the milk, and they're not happy cows at all to get that milk.
Yeah.
But they show these marketing images of happy chickens in the range and the free range and humanely raised. There's total marketing BS.
Well, they can't show the slaughterhouse footage, otherwise everyone would probably boycott their food right away
Yeah, like I
when
think
they lock it down.
Paul McCartney said if we had slaughterhouses, I think it was Paul McCartney, said if you had slaughterhouses, had glass walls, everybody would be vegan. Everybody. Nobody wants to see that harm done to
That's why
animals.
that company that Joey Carbstrong filmed is fighting tooth and nail to suppress that video footage because they don't want it getting out. And all it is the reality of what's happening in there is that they're doing it wrong. They're supposed to stun the cow before they kill it. It's alive and they're still cutting its head off. Even though we know it's wrong, even if they're stunned, even by their rules, they're still doing it wrong. And they don't want that footage to get out.
Oh, yeah. Anytime you're exploiting another species, it's called speciesism, like racism and speciesism, but it's with animals. It's wrong. You don't harm others for no reason. You don't need to eat one animal product to be healthy. In fact, when you do eat animal products, you promote all those horrible diseases we don't want, like heart disease, cancer, gout in your case, obesity even, because it was very hard for me to get the weight off. I would try to do Weight Watchers and different weight programs, and they didn't work for me because I was still eating the animal products and all the saturated fat in the animal products. There's no cholesterol in plants, and unless you process it like olive oil, that has saturated fat in it. But saturated fat, even if you're eating a little bit, it makes it very difficult to lose the weight you need to lose to be a correct BMI. So fortunately, I found out in time not to die first, because really, if I had kept going, I would have been dead many years ago. That was just by chance. I moved next door to my neighbor. Complete fluke.
Did the doctors ever talk to you about nutrition or lifestyle as part of your recovery strategy?
Oh, yeah. When I went in for, I forgot to tell you, I had a little lump, no, a big lump, about the size of a golf ball in my left breast. This is before I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. I went in and he said, we got to take that out and see if it's cancer. I said, oh my God. So he took it out and did a pretty botchy job of it, by the way. And after he took it out, he says, well, it's not cancer, thank goodness. I said, oh, good. I thought it was okay. And I said, but why did I get the lump, doc? Why was it there? And I said, is it my food? And he said, well, what do you eat? And I said, I eat chicken and fish, lots of cheese and yogurt and ice cream and eggs. And he said, your diet's fine, Linda. Don't worry about that. That wasn't it. Some people just get lumps. They do? They just get them for no reason? Yeah. Now I know it was from excess estrogen in my body forming that lump. And had it stayed a little longer, I may have turned into cancer. But I had it removed, and then I got the thyroid cancer. So not very long right after. So anyway,
It's a good thing you're still here.
I wouldn't be here had I not met my mate.
You mentioned that something about the idea that diet had nothing to do with it didn't sit right with you. What made you question that narrative?
I didn't at the time. That was a few months before the thyroid cancer. I didn't question it because he was the doctor. I really believed him that it wasn't my food. So I went happily on eating my dairy and eggs and fish and chicken, barbecue. I found out later that when you put oil to heat up your meat, that actually causes heterocyclic amines, which is another cancer-forming promotion. So did my doctor know about that? No. He didn't say anything about how I cooked my meat, ask me how I cooked it or anything. Of course, you could still get sick eating it raw because it's full of saturated fat and cholesterol.
I
But
guess to your doctor's defense, he didn't know because his book that he learned from was written by the AG industry, the dairy industry, who paid off the American Heart Association to be able to write the books that they learned from, as well as dictate what kids eat in schools.
oh,
So he could always fall back on that, right?
oh yeah, no, he had the proof already, he thought. And it's a shame today that this is still happening. I have a funny story to tell you about the doctor I have right now. It's kind of funny, sad, but I think it's good for people to know because after I had become a plant vegan, I had earrings that said vegan on them. And my own doctor, I was trying to change. He was Japanese and he was still eating a lot of fish. And I was trying to change him. So I would go meet with him once a year to tell him you really need to get off the fish, right? Well, one day I had an earache and he wasn't there. I had to go to some other doctor. So I went to the other doctor and I'm sitting there and he's looking in my ear to see what's going on. And he said, I am too. And I said, you're what? He said, I am too. I said, you're what? He said, it says vegan on your earring. And I said, really? You're vegan? Oh my God, that's wonderful. And then he said, oh, would you be my patient? I said, no, I'm really working on my doctor right now to get off the fish. He said, oh, I'd like you to be my patient. I said, okay. So I moved over to him because he's vegan, right? I was so excited, really, to have a vegan doctor. Well, then I got very disillusioned with my vegan doctor. Tell you why. I found out he's never told one other patient about it. In the 6 years I've known him now, he's never told any other doctor about it because I asked him if he ever mentioned it to any other of his doctor friends. No. And then I realized that he gave my friend statins and all kinds of horrible medicines. He never told him about it. And I thought, wow, he's doing what he has to do to stay alive at the hospital. He's supposed to prescribe so many medications.
So technically, he's not advocating lifestyle medicine then.
Nope, not in 6 years. And he's still handing out statins and all of surgeries and all the normal protocol because that's what required at the hospital where he is. And this is sad because even he knows what to do. He even had read one of my favorite people on earth, Dr. T. Colin Campbell. He even read the China study. He wasn't even eating oil himself because oil is inflammatory, by the way, for cancer as well. A lot of people don't know that. They don't know that it's a processed food. You take olive oil. Everybody thinks olive oil is the big savior of life. Guess what? It's a processed food. They take the fiber out. They take the actual olive away and leave 100% fat. And then on top of that, to make it worse, they heat it up, which is inflammatory for cancer, heart disease. Olive oil is like 14% saturated fat too. In fact, Dr. McDougall said, if you eat olive oil or lard or any kind of fat in an animal product, I can actually take a needle and take the fat out and check, see what you ate. I can tell if you had butter or whether you had lard or olive oil. It's all fat that accumulates on your body and in your organs. He says the fat you eat is the fat you wear. Well, I always put butter on my corn and my popcorn, didn't you?
Yeah. But we know, thanks to T. Colin Campbell and Barnard, Esselstyn, and Ornish, that all oil, even olive oil, even extra virgin olive oil, it all impairs endothelial function, meaning it damages the arterial wall. We know that. They've done the research, which is why we don't do it.
When you see Esselstyn's arteries, when he shows them lined up after eating oil even, they're all plugged up. So then guess what? You get dementia, erectile dysfunction, probably gout and obesity, but your arteries are plugged up. The endothelial cells are damaged and they're plugged up. So you have to eat a lot of dark leafy greens and plant food to get rid of that extra plaque stuck in there. So you don't have a heart attack or a stroke. I don't know what the percentage right now of how many people have heart attacks and strokes, but in this country, it's pretty high.
Your neighbor introduced you to Dr. John McDougall's work. Do you remember what specifically clicked in your mind when you first read his material?
Well, since I had cancer and heart disease, I was looking at those two things in the book that I read. I think it was called 12 Days to Dynamic Health or something. Anyway, but that one young gal who had cancer and was radiated in chemotherapy for like 9 months or something. I don't remember exactly. And it wasn't going away. And so when I realized that she found Dr. McDougall on her own accidentally and completely changed her life, that was it. I didn't even question it. I didn't call him, nothing. I just started following the guy and I did everything he said. Now, when I first started, I wasn't perfect. The first 3 years, I was still eating processed plant food. But what I didn't do even the first 3 years is I took out all the oil because he said no oil. So I had processed food like cookies and things like that, but I had oil-free cookies. But it was still like processed white flour, I wasn't worrying about that. But then I couldn't get off the last 25 pounds. I kind of got stuck on the last 25. So I took all the processed food out, and that's when I got down to the correct body weight. Yeah. Another thing I did wrong, I decided that the red wine I was drinking at night with dinner was fine. I mean, it's got resveratrol in it. It's supposed to be good for you. And so I'd have 1 or 2 glasses every night. Well, guess what? I couldn't get rid of the extra weight. And I didn't know at the time that alcohol, according to Dr. Greger, even a little bit helps promote cancer. And I also smoked for 20 years as an aerobic instructor.
Hey.
So I'm sure that didn't help me. I gave that up and, when I found McDougall and everything, but it was like, wow. When I got the cancer notification, that was it. I mean, I wasn't a heavy smoker, but my husband, when we were first married, gosh, a long time ago, 60 years ago or something, smoking was kind of the in sexy thing. And he would sit after dinner and do smoke rings. And he was kind of like Humphrey Bogart to me. Wow, sexy. Oh my God, that's so cool. It's amazing how our perceptions get changed. But it was just part of my life. In fact, if anybody's supposed to die of lung cancer, it should be me. I'm fine. My lungs are fine.
Good for you. Was it difficult transitioning to a whole food plant-based lifestyle back then compared to today?
No. I didn't have any trouble. But then I guess I'm different than most people. When I talk to my different clients I've had over the years, they go, Linda, how do you do it? I go out to dinner with people and I want to eat that cheesecake. So I do. I say, oh, it was never a problem for me. I guess the fear of death, cancer, heart disease, it just scared me to death. But here's the thing. This is what I like to tell people a lot. I know you love animals too, Paul. 1 week after I met my neighbor, Francis, who told me about Dr. John McDougall, 1 week after we were walking our dogs, I had already given up everything. Yeah. And she said to me, oh, Linda, do you know what happens to dairy cows? I said, I don't know, but I sure miss my cheese and my ice cream. And she said, Linda, I'm going to tell you what happens. She just told me like 3 sentences. She said they take the baby boys and the baby girls away from the mama at birth. They put the boys in the veal cages or kill them. They take the baby girls and start raping them at 1 year old. I said, okay, that's enough. I became an animal rights activist on the spot with 2 sentences. And here's the funny part, though. I thought everybody would react like me when I told them the same story. But you know what? People don't want to hear that. And they don't, even if I tell them, they go, oh, don't tell me anymore. I don't want to know. I didn't want to know either, but I heard it. And that was enough for me because I've always loved animals, always had a dog or cat or something my whole life. So I thought, how come people not just go, tell me more? Because then I started researching. I read Gail Eisner's book, Slaughterhouse. I read Peter Singer, Animal Liberation. And one thing he said in that book really got to me. I read Mad Cowboy, you know that book? The cowboy who went vegan. Anyway, but Peter Singer wrote one sentence in his book, Animal Liberation. And that sentence was, you know, it's not even whether you eat meat or not. It's whether they suffer. So it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about them. We can't harm others for no reason. Our bodies are
I don't
designed.
want to hear that though, because the way they eat is all about them and it's selfish. And then when we hold that mirror up, they don't want to hear it because they want to tune it out and just keep eating the same foods that are feeding their own cancers. And they don't want to think about that. They think cancer is natural and normal. Heart disease is normal. It's just a part of aging. Me and you, we know it's not. We know you have to eat that way to earn that final prize. And they treat it like it's a prize. And they get all sad. Hey, I got cancer. I know this sounds wrong, but when someone gets cancer and they're like, can you pray for me? And can you do this? It's hard for me to even feel bad because they spent their whole life paying other people to rape and murder animals so that they could have this heart disease or this cancer or diabetes. And now they're sad.
Yeah.
And they're still eating the meat.
Yeah.
And wow, my mind is blown.
You can't do
So-
anything if they get set like that.
And I try to help people, but they like literally family doesn't even want me to visit anymore because they're sick of hearing it.
Yeah.
Yet they all have health problems.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it's like, okay, like I didn't reverse all my problems and have flawless blood work and I'm super healthy now.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't want to listen to me. Okay.
And also, I like this one story I tell in my slideshow that I have. I'll just tell it to you, but if you could see the difference, I think it was Margie came to my aerobics class with her sister. Her sister's slightly disabled, and she's the older sister, but they both were over 100 pounds overweight. And they came to my aerobics class because they wanted to lose weight, and they told me ahead of time. She said, we came to your class, Linda, because we want to lose weight. And it was a weight training and cardio class. And I said, you're not going to lose weight in here. They said, what? That's why we're here. I said, talk to me after class. You're going to get stronger, but you're not going to lose the weight. Okay? They both came up to me after class, kind of mad. And I said, well, here's what you have to do. In order to lose the weight, you have to change the food to a whole food plant diet. Well, you know what? Margie and her sister went home, read the books I told her to read, and they jumped right in. Now, here's the really interesting part that I'm so proud of. Her sister had had diabetes at that time for 27 years, taking metformin and insulin and all the rest. And she didn't want to do it. She didn't want to do the plant thing, but she wasn't the cook. Margie was. She said, I want you to do this. So she did. But then that sister went to the doctor and complained to the doctor, said, listen, I don't want to do this plant diet this lady has us on. And lucky for me, this doctor said, go ahead and do it. I had another patient do that once, and it worked. He never told her in 27 years she could do it, but he did have a patient once before who did that and lost her diabetes. So he said, go ahead and do it. She did. After 27 years of diabetes and taking meds, in weeks, she lost her diabetes. She said, what are you doing? I got to take your insulin down. And they both lost over 100 pounds. And Margie was featured in Women's World. And I told her, here's what I do to lose weight. In the starch solution, potatoes are only 1% fat because I don't put olive oil on them or mayo or anything. And so when you're hungry, before you go out to eat a pile of potatoes. I even take them in the car and eat them on the way to the lunch or the dinner. And then when you get there, you can have a salad, no dressing, please. They don't care that you're not eating everything. So once in a while, if they're having pizza, aren't you going to have the pizza? I said, no, I'm sorry, I ate ahead a little bit. And they don't mind. I'm there and get to socialize and still be with them. Now I have family members who don't really like this still to this day, that I'm such a problem mother-in-law or whatever, because I'm eating my own way and they have to make a special meal for me. They're so mad at me. But then I have one son who runs VDog, my dog food company, a vegan dog food company. He's like I do. And he runs a marathon every 3 days. He's very strong, very fit. He's a triathlon guy. And he just turned 58 now, and he's still running marathons. I'm very proud of him. He eats exactly like I do. So,
You read off well.
yeah. So I got one guy out of 3 who get the message, and he also loves animals. So it's funny. My other 2 love their dogs, but that's as far as it goes. Dogs only.
Once you changed your diet and lifestyle, what were the first health improvements that you personally noticed?
Well, the one that made the happiest was the weight loss, because, we're sort of vain that way. I was a fat aerobic instructor teaching 25 classes a week then. And so having the weight loss was wonderful, but I lost the heart disease, so I had more energy. And the cancer went away, so I wasn't worried about dying. So the relief of those 3 things was fantastic. Just fantastic.
And how long did it take before you realized, wow, this is actually changing my life?
It was so long ago now, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was a matter of the first 2 years I was still eating some processed food, so it took a while. So I'd say maybe about 37 years ago, I started to feel fantastic because I've gotten my body weight down and I wasn't eating the processed foods. And but it took a while because I wasn't doing it perfectly at first, because I didn't really get it yet all the way.
Because you didn't have a vegan mentor back
No, no, I didn't have that at all. But now I don't shut up about it.
That's all right. Looking back now, decades later, how different is your life compared to when you were where you were at before?
Oh my God, it's night and day. I know I was teaching so many classes. So even though I was overweight, my heart wasn't working right. And when your heart isn't working right, I was exhausted during that time. And trying to keep up that schedule would be hard, even with a good heart. But I did it because I loved it. But I didn't have the energy that I have now. I have so much more energy. So I think that was the main thing, just the energy. It's like night and day. I could sleep better. Things like that.
Like that. Everything's better when you're eating this way, at least for me. You've now spent many years helping others transition towards healthier lifestyles. What are the biggest struggles people face when trying to change the way they eat?
I think it's the social connection when they're going out with friends. I think it's the family, not like in my family too. I'm a big bother. And it's not nice when your family does that to you. My daughter-in-law said, "Mom, you're so difficult." And that's just translated, "I know we're going to have Christmas together, but they're going to have to make a special meal for me." I said, "I'll bring my own," but they don't like the effort. And that's really hard. It's not easy. And then some friends never invited me again to anything because I actually lost some, I thought, good friends. But then I gained a whole bunch of other vegan friends who are not just plant-based. The difference between plant-based is huge. And I have both sides. I have the healthy people who care about their health, but they don't really think about the animals too much. And then I have my animal rights people. Now, the funny part about my animal rights people, They're all way younger than me. I'm the oldest in the whole group. And they do not care about health. They're plant-based, but
Still Oreo vegans, right?
they eat oil and processed food. In fact, I remember I went to a sanctuary. My group from DXC and I went to a sanctuary. We did a cleanup day, cleaning the pens, getting the leaves off the everything. And it was hard work, and they had lunch for everybody. Well, I knew what it would be, so I brought my own. And I'm sitting there eating my own lunch, and they said, "Oh my God, Linda always brings her own lunch." They were eating like chocolate cake and lots of oil and sugar. They have all kinds of oily wraps, and it was all vegan food. It was all plant food, but it wasn't healthy food. But I don't care. They're working hard for the animals, and they're all young and beautiful right now. They don't have heart disease yet. They don't. Some of them are overweight, though. They do have that. But even a lot of them are not, and they're just absolutely don't know that they might have a problem later. So I have the two groups, and they don't mix. I have a lot of older people in the healthy conscious one, and a lot of my young people in the animal rights groups. In fact, I was arrested with my animal rights group when I was 76. Proudest moment of my life. Loved it. In fact, it was just on the ground. They were up over the Capitol building, put up Rose's Law, which is following this chicken named Rose, to stop animal factory farming. And the thing is, I was down below holding a sign, and the police came and arrested all of us, people on the building, state capitol, and me. I had like 19 people in my cell. They weren't my friends. They were other people. And so what did I do during that 5 hours? I think I was in there before bail. I taught everybody how to exercise. Everybody squat, keep your butt behind you. Up we go, arms overhead, come on down. I had everybody doing exercise. Well, what else are we going to do in there? I actually had to bend so I didn't hit somebody, but it was marvelous because we got a lot of press over it, making people aware of what's going on. So, and I do a lot of work with PETA. I've been a PETA organizer here for animals. I work with Stop Animal Experimentation Now group, Michael Budke. And when I lived in Davis years ago, I used to run a lot. And I ran by the big domes, all the primates who were in there. I could hear them screaming. So I started doing protests there. Then you know what they did? They walled it off so I couldn't get close. And they still have like 2,000 primates at UC Davis that we're going to do a protest pretty soon. And then we have a protest also lined up for the goat milk at different grocery stores. And the goat farms are horrific. I thought the dairy farms were horrific, but the goat farms for their milk and their cheese is horrifying. And they're big suppliers all around Sacramento. So we have a big protest plan for that too. And then of course we just got, I think it's 1,500 beagles out of the cages experimenting on them in Wisconsin. We had like 2,000 people go to that to rescue these beagles. And some of my friends have the beagles. And they're so happy. And some of them were shaking so much it took them a long time after they got out to be able to trust anybody. But now they're coming out of their shells, and it's so wonderful to see them. We still have many thousands more to rescue. It makes me so happy that they went that far.
Good for you. Why do you think so many people resist the idea that food can dramatically influence disease and overall health?
Why do they resist it?
Yeah, why do you think they resist it so much?
Well, first of all, you're brainwashed from birth. My grandkids I watch play soccer. I see some of the kids on there are overweight. They can't even run to the ball very fast because they're overweight already, because the parents are feeding them all the standard American diet, which is eggs, milk, cheese, candy bars. They don't even know about the sugar part. So it's a tradition, brainwashing from birth, and it's really hard to get out of it. Then you have specific groups like my Indian friends they don't want to give up the dairy because it's almost a spiritual thing. And then even sacrifice a certain animal. Certain groups, cultures kill the animal as a sacrifice, honoring the animal. It's so really messed up. So when you have this brainwashing going on, I know I was brainwashed, and I remember trying to feed my daughter when she was a baby my little jar of fish. She didn't want it. I said, you got to eat it for your protein. Here. I said, I'll give you a piece of candy if you eat the fish now. I mean, we're so programmed. It's very difficult. And then in social situations, it's very difficult. And because you're with so many people at once sometimes who are all eating the same way, and then you're the different one. You don't want to be different, and you want to go to social events. And that is really hard for people. And then also there's the addiction side. I know people who have big sugar addictions, which comes along with non-vegan things like ice cream. But the sugar thing is also highly addictive. And a lot of people don't know that sugar itself causes dementia. A lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that for a long time, to be honest. I didn't know that it caused heart disease. I thought oil was the worst. But I'm beginning to know from my doctor friends around here who taught me that sugar can be even more harmful for your heart, and stay away from it. Plus, most sugar is not vegan anyway, because to make the sugar white, they use animal bones to char it, to make it white. So most cane sugar is not vegan anyhow. So you're still using animals to make it happen. I think that's why, is because just tradition and brainwashing from birth, it's very difficult to believe that you're supposed to change, and that I become sort of a weirdo. And that question they ask Paul too, and make this statement, oh, you think you're superior to us. Well, you're not. And I love my bacon, and I love my meat. This is not about being superior. I'm no superior than anybody else. I don't find myself superior. I do find myself compassionate, and I care what happens to people and animals. But they want to make it about them, about me versus them. And when you get that kind of backlash, it can be, for me, it's no problem because I'm very strong in my beliefs and my compassion. But for people who are new at this, they can say, I just didn't want to be. In fact, I had one so-called friend who got online. She's very fit. And she said, I want to tell you guys something. I'm not vegan anymore. I don't want to be different. And she was a coach. And she announced, I don't like that word vegan. I'm never using it again. And I like to tell people that's not a good idea. The meat and dairy industry has usurped the word vegan and made it sound bad, but it isn't. The actual meaning of vegan is what keeps me going. It was coined in 1944 by Donald Watson in England and his wife. They never talk about his wife because it was a patriarchal society. But he and his wife made the word vegan from vegetarian. They took the first three letters and the last two and put them together to make the word vegan. And the meaning of vegan has nothing to do with food or diet. Even some of my plant doctors call it a diet. It's not a diet. It means do no harm or exploit animals or sentient beings as best you can. Now, when we plow fields, we're going to kill some things for our plants, but not as many crops are made for us as for feeding animals. So you're getting the best of it that way. But it is difficult not to kill something, but you do the best you can. That's why it isn't like absolute. Always on the meat trolls on our Facebook, they say, oh, you vegans, you kill so many animals when you plant your crops. Well, I don't know the ratio anymore, Paul, but it's like many times more crops are grown for
80%.
80% are grown
Worldwide.
to feed the animals we kill. We breed them to kill them. And then people say, oh, we have to kill them and we'll be overpopulated. No, we're breeding them to kill them. We don't need to breed any animals.
That farmer has to wear a glove and put it, where. And they enjoy it, and they see the cow likes it. I'm like, dude, the cow does not enjoy that. I'm sorry. It's not natural.
No,
It's not natural. I'm sorry.
totally, totally unnatural.
So, yeah, these guys really try to justify that. It angers me when they do that. You've met and worked alongside some of the biggest names in plant-based nutrition and lifestyle medicine. Dr. Neal Barnard, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, T. Colin Campbell, John McDougall, and many others. What have you learned from being around these people over the years?
Well, I'm telling you, I'm so honored. Before COVID, I used to put on events here in Sacramento. I had Dr. T. Colin Campbell, Neal Barnard, Dr. Clapper. Let's see, who else? Oh, Greger, had Michael Greger many times. He used to stay here in Sacramento and be my speaker. And it was an honor to have them. I used to have Dr. Richard Openlander, a whole bunch of Dr. James Benny. The list goes on. And I was so honored that they would come to my events. And I learned so much from each one of them. And then my greatest award, though, I've gotten quite a few awards over my life for doing my work, but the greatest award of my life happened in 2025 when Dr. Neal Barnard and Betsy Watson, who works with him, called me and said they're going to give me an award, and it's called the Voice of Compassion. And they were coming to Sacramento to give it to me, and they were having a big dinner for like 200 or more people in the Galleria, a beautiful place, and to present me with this, I don't know where it is right now, but it's a big, beautiful glass award. It's just gorgeous. But the meaning of the award, I was so shocked that I was getting this award because you know who else got alongside me, but not the same night? People like Alicia Silverstone, Moby, Jane Valence Mitchell. I mean, these big names. I know, and I got one of them too. It was just absolutely wonderful too. And Chef AJ got one the same night I did. But it should be that no matter how sad or depressed I get at any time, if I want to feel better, I think about what Dr. Barnard said to me as he was going to present me that award. He said, well, I've known Linda for over 20 years, and I have to say she's one of my favorite people on earth. I just about passed out. Okay, I can die now because I respect him so much. He has Food for Life instructors. Under him, I'm a Food for Life instructor in nutrition and cooking. And he has instructors like me all around the world, in Uganda, in South America, in China. And they have a program called Let's Beat Cancer all around the world. And the other thing, Dr. Neal Barnard, when he was in medical school, they used to have to try to experiment on animals. And that did it for him. To this day, he works so hard educating people to get rid of the animal experimentation because we have all the synthetic things, even cells from humans. We have synthetic whole things we can use that work better than on a human. Because when you experiment on an animal, they're not the same as a human. And so it doesn't work as well. But the reason these animal experimentations go on so well is because they get so much money from all these experiments. It's all about money. They don't want to give it up. So, but Dr. Barnard's programs go around the world exposing that. So when he gave me the award, he also said, I think Linda was either a rat or a bunny or something. When he came to the Capitol building, because we were doing a whole protest, we were trying to pass a bill to stop the animal testing. And he never forget I had a great big, I think it was a big rat hat. I was huge rat costume. And I was sitting on the Capitol building with it. And I took with pictures with the head on and with the head off. And so he never forgot. So I would do anything to help him. He could tell me to jump off a cliff and I would do it. If it's going to help the animals, I will jump off the cliff. So yeah, I've had a really, really nice experiences in my life and many nice awards over the years. And my son who runs V-Dog Food, that's another thing I'm very proud of. My husband died 12 years ago. Thank goodness my son could take it over because we started that in 2005 after we did all the scientific research of why omnivore dogs can thrive on a plant diet. So we're saving a lot of dogs right there too. I love animals, which makes me happy.
Good job. Someone's watching this right now and they're skeptical and they think this is too simple. What would you say to them?
It's simple. It's not as hard as you think. And anybody who wants to get a hold of me, please do, because I can tell you how simple it is once you get the recipes together. And once you know how easy they are and how good it tastes. Oh my goodness, I love my plant food. It's just yummy. And then you can also take my Food for Life classes online if you don't live here. And I teach cancer and diabetes classes for Dr. Neal Barnard, Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. But when you find out how easy it is to make simple things, like whenever I'm hungry, I eat a potato that I microwave. It's okay. Or eat another potato, or eat 5 potatoes, and that makes you feel full. I don't gain the weight because I'm not putting oil or mayo or something on those potatoes. You could put salsa or a hummus dressing or something. You don't have to eat them plain. I like them plain, but you don't have to. But I think as people are afraid, they don't know what to eat. They don't know the recipes. And they think they're going to miss out on protein. And like I said earlier, you have to be careful on a plant diet not to get too much protein. And also one more thing about calcium. People think I'm not going to get enough calcium if I don't have dairy. Here's the thing about dairy that I like people to know. If you get too much D from dairy, it blocks the absorption of D in your body. Actually, they've shown scientific now studies to show that eating dairy causes more bone fractures than if you didn't eat it. And also, only 2 glasses of milk per day can help promote prostate cancer for men.
Increased rates of osteoporosis.
Oh, yeah.
Milk is what I've seen. It's just crazy. And they'll tell you otherwise.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
the dairy commercials will tell you otherwise. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
Misinformation that they spread.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what are some of the biggest myths people still believe about vegan or plant-based diets?
One, they think that you're going to be weak, that you're not going to get the protein or the calcium, that you will die young, and that you won't be healthy at all, that you'll be sickly. And they say, oh, animals like to be milked. And they don't care if you just shoot them in a hurry in the head, you know. They don't mind. It's just one bad day. That myth, they really think that these animals are raised humanely. There's no such thing as humane slaughter. And no animal wants to die who doesn't want to die. And people say, oh, well, I should get my pig from a farm. I said, well, okay, when you go to the farm, would you be able to look in that pig's eyes and kill it? Or that cow that acts like a puppy? Would you be able to slice its throat or even shoot it with a gun? Well, maybe not. If you see a pig truck going down the highway and one pig jumps over the edge and falls on the highway, everybody stops to save that one pig. They saw that it got hurt. Well, what about all the ones going to the slaughterhouse where they have to be in those metal trucks and hot or cold for days on end with no food or water? And pigs are particularly bad in my mind because they take the male pigs and they take the balls and they rip them off at 6 months old. They rip them off with their hands, or they have a big metal clippers and just clip them off. And then they gas many of the pigs to death. They put them in gas chambers. It can take 22 hours. They do it to chickens too, before they die. Or they do ventilation shutdown for the chickens. You know what that is, Paul? Okay, ventilation shutdown is very common practice, especially if there's a whole thousands of birds that got bird flu. They take those chickens and they put them in a big shed and they shut off all the vents. and then they turn the heater up so they have to die in extreme heat. It takes hours and hours, and they're just horrified. They feel pain just like you do. Another thing I want to talk about is fish. My friend, Dr. Jonathan Balcombe, I've had as a speaker. He does a lot of research on insects and fish and different things. He shows in his science that fish feel pains because so many people, I only eat fish, I don't eat meat, Linda. What? Fish feel pain like you do or your dog does. Did you know that you can play ball with a fish? You can actually throw the ball out, and they know who you are. If you come every day and throw the ball, they'll bring it back to you? No, I didn't know that. And do you know that when they come out of water suffocating, it takes them many hours, and they're suffering just like you do? They have the same pain receptors, central nervous system we do. And most people just think fish have no feelings. In fact, even if they don't agree with me, I said, did you know that about fish? No. So I left them with that. So next time they eat their fish, maybe that comes into their mind. But there are so many myths about what animals feel and don't feel. And we're raised from birth to think we love this animal, the cat, the dog, but even a fish in a fishbowl is painful, but we still love it somehow. I grew up with rats in a rat cage, but I learned to love them. I'm sorry I had them in a cage now, but I still was kind to them. And then when I went to a PETA event, Ingrid was there, and she was showing how things like grasshoppers and insects, if you put like a hot blade or something next to them, they back off because they feel pain too. So I don't try to kill anything now. I used to kill flies like crazy because I didn't like them. And now I just make sure they get outside if I have to try to catch them and put them outside. I'm sure I've killed things when I drive my car, but I don't knowingly do so. And I think that people have this misconception, really, one of the biggest myths of all is the animals, that we have learned to eat, to wear clothing, or put in a fish tank, or put whales in, or elephants in a circus, or in zoos. Zoos are bad. Do not go to Sequest. I went because we did big protests. These animals are living in their filthy water of their own waste, and is like disgusting. They belong in the wild with their families. They have families and friends like we do. We don't take those away from them, but we are. And they take the kids to these zoos and Sequest and all these terrible places. And that's where the kids learn it's okay to confine them. It's okay to make them jump through hoops. It's okay to make a whale, a dolphin jump up and catch something. It is, and it's not okay, but we get this brainwashing from very young. And then I guess one of the worst things is teaching your children how to shoot things, like go out in the wild and kill the animals. It's just like, and they're so happy that the 10-year-old daughter got a buck with those, I don't know what they're called, horns, or big rack. I'm so proud of my daughter. And she's sitting there smiling with her gun and her big deer she shot herself. This is how we brainwash kids, and they don't know any differently. Why would they?
Yeah, there's no sport in that, and we're not doing it for survival. So I made a graphic where I was showing the similarities between a serial killer and a hunter, and they actually lined up. They lined right up.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate, but people they have that much cognitive dissonance that they're in line with a serial killer. It just happens to be they murder animals for no good reason. We have DoorDash. You don't need to eat elk meat or boar meat. You're not surviving out there like Bear Grylls. And even Bear Grylls could probably DoorDash from pretty much anywhere.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's how the whole system needs to be changed. And we need to stop all the money that's being made by these big ag. Big ag gets so much money, and they send out, I notice on Facebook, they pay money to meat trolls to make disparaging remarks on every vegan page or post that both Paul and I do. they get paid. I don't maybe it's $25 a post or something. Well, that stacks up for them. They get some pretty good money by promoting anti-vegan messages and how vegans are weak and stupid. Oh, I love that when they say you are a lame brain. You have a scrambled brain. You need to go to a psychiatrist. All these terrible things they say about us. And it's just the opposite, but you can't really say that. So yeah,
Reading a script, you
Mhm.
know, because I debunk them every time. I say, "Hey, I've got a bachelor's degree. Let me see what you got. Oh, I've got this before and after picture. I have a six pack now. Let's see you with your shirt off, troll. Go ahead. Oh, you don't want to do a live shoot with me and get on here like me and Linda are? Oh, that's right, because you have a picture of a car as your profile picture probably for a reason. It's funny. I debunk them every single time. But
yeah, they don't have science to back it. You always give scientific facts of all the different research and doctors who have proved our point that eating animal products is harmful for the human body. And then, oh, I love that one about the Mediterranean diet too, because they think, oh, well, it's a Mediterranean diet. Yes, it's better than the standard American diet, but it's despite the fact that the olive oil and the eating of the fish, they're better than we are because they don't eat the amount of processed food and animal products. It's not that it's the best way. It's just better than what the standard American diet is. So I get that argument all the time. Yeah.
I made a graphic for that too, where I put them side by side. And I said, one of them can sort of slow down chronic diseases, but only one diet has been proven to actually reverse diseases. And that's the whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet. And I listed all the doctors and all the proven disease reversals, the angiograms, etc. And
Yeah.
they lose their mind because I like to validate everything I say with actual studies and sources. And they talk about their feelings. So they're basically 3-year-olds throwing tantrums and they don't like the sources and studies. They act like it didn't happen or they can't read. But either way, it's for our enjoyment because we know we're looking at it and breaking down.
Oh, they
Actually,
they
get
have
the confidence.
nothing to say that makes any sense. It's all like a 2-year-old tantrum. Don't eat that. I gotta eat this, otherwise I'm gonna die.
For someone who feels overwhelmed or intimidated about changing their diet, where should they start?
I think, first of all, they have to recognize why. And if they don't really recognize why, it's hard to start. So I think watching some of the major films, like What the Health, I like to start with that one because and the Game Changers, especially if you're an athlete, I think seeing those envisioning these people who get healthy and fit. You don't get big muscles by eating more animals. You get big muscles, which I can prove by my friends who have arms and legs like this, who are plant-based, by working out. You have to use the weights to get the muscle. Or you can use your own body weight doing push-ups. You don't even need weights, but you have to work out. So I think having people see first, that's why I always have a list of movies I give everybody. First, I tell them What the Health, and then the second one I give them, because if I only have time to talk to them about 2 of them, the second one is Dominion. And I said, Dominion is very hard. You don't have to watch all of it. Just try to watch 15 minutes so you can actually see what's happening to the animals. Otherwise, they go, oh, they're okay. The animals are okay. So I really have to get that visual part done first. And then getting them to websites I know of that help them with transitioning. And also, I happen to give them some recipes I use and different ways I work with people to eat a lot of potatoes. Especially, I have a lot of people who are overweight, and a lot of people don't know. They said, oh, don't body shame me. I said, I'm not body shaming you. This is about your health. Because when you have excess weight, you're actually promoting excess estrogen. Excess estrogen promotes cancer. So I had a lady at my gym who was the gym manager, and she was overweight, and she said, I got to lose weight because I'm getting married. And I said, well, I can help you. And she, oh, God, I would never do that. Ah, plant-based, no. And then she said, are you body shaming me? I said, no, you wanted to lose weight. and you want to be healthy. And that's what this is about, not producing excess estrogen in your body. But some people are so close, you just have to stop because they end right there. But some people want to know what to do. So you give them places to get the recipes and give them some of your own favorites. And then even show them how much they need to work out. I say at least 2 days a week and walk every day. Weight training 2 days a week and walk every day. And that'll get you started. You can even carry light weights when you walk to help with your osteoporosis. So you just have to give them a few steps to get them to be able to go forward. But they have to be able to visualize all of it. And sometimes they even hear it once and they go, oh, no, I can't do that. Well, I don't waste my time there. I have to use my time for people who have a little window open now who want to know more. And I think that's the way to do it, is to, and then tell them what I do in family situations, what I do out to eat at restaurants, because all those social interactions are important for people. And I said, you don't have to give those up. It's going to change, but you don't have to give them up. So I think when they know that it's safe to do it and they've got the background now from the movies they watch, then it's much easier. I think that's how I would go about it.
What are some of the simplest foods or meals that you recommend to beginners trying to improve their health?
Potatoes. In fact, one lady in my aerobics class, she was new, and they never know how old I am. Even though I have gray hair, they think I'm a lot younger than I am because of my energy.
I was going to say, it's because of your energy.
And so this one lady came after class. She had been there about 3 times. And she said, how do you have so much energy? And I said, potatoes. Potatoes? I can't tell you how many times people, oh, those make you fat. Linda, I can't eat potatoes.
Potato chips, raw, not real potatoes.
Yeah. And so they think, oh, I can't have bread, I can't have rice, I can't have potatoes, I can't have beans and rice and potatoes. Oh, no, I can't do carbs. No.
So they really think potato chips are the same thing as a regular potato.
They're no different.
That's how confused people are.
And then when they eat the potato, there's French fries with oil and salt. Yeah, those make you fat. My favorite meal back in the day was 4 big bags of French fries and 2 glasses of red wine. So yeah, I know how you can get fat and sick. But now I know when I eat potatoes, I actually, in fact, when I gain weight, maybe 4 pounds or even, I don't like that. So what do I do for a day? I eat mostly potatoes and a little bit of greens and a little bit of fruit, and that's it. And my weight comes right off because potatoes are 1% fat and they make you feel very full. And they're complete amino acids. They have vitamin C. They have potassium. They have B6. They're really healthy. If John McDougall said you could eat potatoes the rest of your life and a piece of broccoli and you're done. And live happily ever after. Yeah. So
most people don't know that.
No. So first you have to get that anti-carb thing across to them. Because I just had it yesterday when I was talking to somebody on the phone. I'm always talking about this, no matter who I talk to on the phone, they get to hear about this. But they say, I can't have carbs. No. They ask me, how do I keep my weight down? I said, potatoes. Oh, no, I can't eat that, Linda. And I have to explain the whole carb thing. You have to eat complex carbs are what give you energy. Like Dr. John McDougall said, in the history of the world, you have Ethiopia with potatoes and beans in Latin America, and you have rice in the Asian countries. That's what they eat the most of. And then you add in the other things, and they're healthy. In fact, the Japanese didn't have the weight gain and the diabetes and all that until they started using our food. They were eating so much rice, and then they're veggies too. But, it's just crazy because we have learned that it is okay to eat the processed food. In fact, we've made it so easy. When I show my slides on my presentation, I show Denny's, McDonald's, Taco Bell, all these places because they're on every other street. And when I look at the cars going around over and over again, and they're waiting in line to get that fast thing, they start chomping on their McDonald's burger on their way out. They're not even sitting down with family and friends. They're just grabbing this horrible food for you that gives you cancer.
Fast.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, I would say oversaturated. That's how it is. They're everywhere. And then it kind of works because they sell foods that are oversaturated with saturated fat.
And they get
Salt,
addicted, and the
right?
people get addicted to the salt, the sugar, and the fat. They're actually addicted to it, so they can't wait to go back.
It does. They've done the studies where it does the dopamine hit.
Yeah.
You know, when you're eating that, that's the same thing that drugs do. Dopamine. So
Yeah.
it's crazy that food is a drug.
Yeah. Especially the dairy. The dairy is like huge opiate. Dr. Barnard talks about that a lot. What an
intense.
opiate it is. Oh, I asked him one time, I said, it's opiate-like, right? He said, no, Linda, it's an opiate.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
If you could sit down with every American family for 5 minutes, what's the one message that you would want them to understand about food and health?
I would say, I want to help this family right now. Because I didn't know this earlier. I tell them about me and what happened to me first so they can get an idea how sick I was and how I regained my health. And at 82, have more energy than most people do at 40. I would tell them why I did that and how it helped me. I think giving myself an example really helped. And then you can bring it on to them. And I don't want you to suffer like I did because I didn't know any of this. I didn't know one thing about this. My dad, before he became an engineer, worked on a dairy farm. We had all the milk and cheese we could have, whatever we wanted. And we had chickens in the backyard. My brother used to cut the head off. And I used to watch him and I think, well, I have to eat it, so I need it, so it's okay. No. And he was a member of Future Farmers of America, so he'd have these little baby sheep and goats that he just fell in love with, and he'd have to take them and put them into slaughter. So, no, we don't have to do any of that. I would explain to people that animal products hurt us when we eat them. And I didn't know that, and I'll tell them how I didn't know that, because I was brainwashed from birth, like you guys are right now. It's not your fault. You didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. How would you know? Unless somebody like me is telling you now. And I would explain all the processes of how I got well, and hopefully that would resonate with them. And if they're real open-minded, I might even tell them that I'm a vegan and say that I don't like to hurt animals. In fact, I have this one thing I do at stoplights with my dogs. I have one big dog and one big pit bull and one small one. And I'm in this little Mini Cooper and I roll down the window and I have this one really long stoplight in Sacramento. I go there every day when I take them on a car ride. And I have the window down, and the people next to me in this very long light always roll their window down to tell me how beautiful my dogs are. They're so cute. And I said, oh, you must have a dog too. And they say, oh, I had one, or I do at home, or something. And I said, oh, you're an animal lover like me. And right under the window, I have a little round sticker that says vegan. That's the only sticker. And I said, oh, you must be vegan too. And they said, what? Oh, see the sticker there? You must be vegan too. You love animals. I'm not kidding. I can't tell you how many people said, oh, I'm not vegan. Or they say, I want to be vegan. I get this conversation every day. And then they'll say, oh, well, watch What the Health and Dominion. And they write it down. And I get this whole thing started. This is my own little vegan maker stoplight. In fact, I think I'm going to write a book called Stoplight Vegan because it's working. You know, my dogs get the attention. They love my dogs. There's nobody that doesn't love my dogs. So they want to talk about it. And I said, you love animals too? That makes me so happy. You're my kind of person. Here's my favorite one that happened at the stoplight. I love this story. So I'm at the stoplight, and there's a big white truck with a guy way up there on the cabin. And he rolls down the window, and he said, oh, your dogs are so cute. And I said, yeah, the rescues. And I thought the light was going to change, so I went right ahead. Okay, are you vegan too? And he looks down at me, he says, Linda, don't you recognize me? I'm vegan. I said, you are? He said, remember when you got your oil changed 2 years ago and you told me all the movies to watch and you wrote it down? I'm vegan. Oh, that was so awesome. And then I have one more story like that, so weird. I have to call Apple Care all the time for technical issues. I'm talking to this lady. At the end of every conversation, they say, what else can I do for you? And my answer is, you can go vegan. And they usually chuckle or say, I am, or I could never do that, or something. Well, this one lady said, Linda, you called me 2 years ago on Apple Care. It's random, who you get. And I went vegan. Remember, we watched a movie together? And so I'm not kidding. You can spread veganism so many ways if you're not shy. I know a lot of people never talk about it, but that's not me. So that's how I get indirectly calling people, stoplight, in the grocery store, wear a vegan hat, vegan shirt. And they say, I could never do that. And that starts the conversation. So I try to plant seeds, if nothing else, everywhere I go. And it works. I mean, it doesn't always work. So, but it does sometimes, So that's why it's, yeah.
Linda, looking back at your entire journey, what are you most grateful for today?
I'm most grateful for being alive because I wouldn't be here. I would have been dead almost 40 years ago because I was on death's door. So I'm just grateful to be healthy and alive. So,
Huge.
I mean, I couldn't do anything at all about helping the animals or myself if I were sick and on death's door like I was. So yeah, that's the most grateful thing, is to be here and not have died early. My dad died of a heart attack at 62 in the kitchen right after the big ham dinner. And
Just
so,
like my dad.
your dad too?
Yeah, well, he died in early 60s as well from heart disease and diabetes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those two things. Oh, those are prevalent. So I think getting the word out is really important. And so I really appreciate what you do, Paul. Your graphics are so incredible. And your messaging is so innocent, so prolific. I go, oh my God, Paul done another one. I don't know how you have time in the day to do what you do. But it's
You
amazing.
make it easy. You learn the tricks. I mean, if it took too long, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
I learned how to sort of whip these things together quicker. Where can people find you if they want coaching, support, or to learn a bit more about your work?
I think the easiest thing to remember is my website, Vegan Mentor, or veganmentor@gmail.com. Those are the two easiest ways to find me. And if you have chat, you can put my phone number, too. But yeah, no, that's the easiest way. And I'm on Facebook under Linda Middlesworth or Vegan Mentor, or under Sacramento Animal Save, Sacramento Health Save. I have a whole bunch of pages. I'm always on one of those things at all times. So anyway, it's just delightful to feel this good and be so old.
But feel so young.
Yeah, I feel so young. Yeah, makes a big difference. Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time to have a chat with me, and then hopefully we can, share this in a way that will help inspire others to make positive changes in their own life.
Yeah, because they don't have to die early necessarily. I mean, there are times I have a couple friends who died of cancer, some very rare form of cancer. I can't say you're going to stop every disease, but we can sure try, because we're finding out people are living longer when they eat from the plant kingdom and not the animal kingdom. So
Exactly.
thank you, Paul.
Thanks once again, Linda. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.